Well, welcome everybody. I have the honor and privilege of sitting down today with the two band members from Jady, Ashton Bergdorf and Jarrett Doherty.
What's going
Um,
on? Thank you for having us, man.
yeah, it's great to have you here. And well, at the time of recording, we're just under 12 hours after Silver came out. So I have to ask, I'm sure everyone else is also asking you this, but yeah, there we go. There it is.
Yeah. Very first time we have printed, which I know that you were excited about,
Oh yeah.
a physical copy of the record, which was crazy. A couple days ago when these came in, it was the very first time I've ever held in all of the years of creating music. First time I've held the art that we've made, which was just such a weird feeling. I've never had it tangible in my
Yeah.
hands. So it's been a surreal experience, especially seeing people being excited to get it too, was
Oh yeah.
just added to this whole excitement for this record finally being out.
Yeah, is it weird to see the sounds you make as grooves on a piece of vinyl?
It is. In fact,
Yeah.
it's very, very weird. And I was actually worried because of the quick turnaround. We had to obviously print all of these, but we couldn't do test pressings.
Right.
And so I was afraid that we would have just printed like hundreds of just bad vinyl recordings. I had to learn how to mix a vinyl for this because I do all of the
Okay.
mix mastering,
Yeah, yeah.
which apparently is a completely different process. And I like to think it came out pretty well. So I'm
Well,
excited. I feel like it's a cool listen on vinyl.
I'll take a listen and let you know how well you did.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know. You're
Yeah.
like, yeah, ain't it.
Yeah.
Man.
What is it like compared to the first 12 hours after Napalm came out? Is there any difference in sort of how you're feeling, how the audience is receiving an album like this? Is it drastically different? Is it exactly the same? What's going on?
It's it's it I think it feels different.
Yeah,
This
I would
this
say it's pretty
feels
different.
yeah, it has felt obviously I think this band just like grows with every release, so this one has felt a bit more just like just shower of love. And seeing, the immediate reactions and getting to see how people are getting excited for the album and I don't know, man. It's honestly such a different feeling with this one, which is just
Yeah.
so exciting.
Yeah.
You've touched on this a little bit already, but in particular with, how you had to create new mixes for the vinyl and so on. But overall, what was the process like going into writing this album as opposed to the first two? Because obviously you have more of a break between this one than you did between the Haze and Napalm. Can you talk a bit more about what was behind that break? Was it just purely logistical? Was it something else as well? And then also just what it was like to write this third album?
Yeah, honestly, given the past year and a half, we like to think of ourselves as an album band because there's just so much more behind the album, the
Yeah.
experience of an album, rather than just releasing singles. So we knew that was the goal, but in the very early stages of Silver, we were kind of balancing, playing so many shows and touring, obviously the overseas tour and the multiple US tours. And it just kind of slowly developed and started to grow feet of its own until it began to form this track list. And we were like, wait a second, we've got a record on our hands. And
Yeah.
the themes started to kind of bleed through each song, so it started to kind of have this consistent message, and we were like, you know what, let's just chase this down. And that ended up turning and snowballing into Silver. But yeah, it really kind of started. Um, like I remember us being in Europe writing some of these songs. Like
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I'll have to at some point show. There's a voice memo from a green room piano
Right.
that ended up making it onto Echo Chamber. So
Okay. Yeah.
the voice memo. So the entire piano that you hear in the whole entire song is just this random venue in Germany. And it was just this really old, out of tune piano. And I was just playing chords. If you listen closely, you can hear all of the other bands just talking. It was
Hmm.
just like, so that song is such a time capsule for that tour. Just takes me back, like, whoa.
Right.
Like it's just straight up unedited, the
Yeah.
audio.
Oh, really? Okay. You didn't even like do much production on it either.
It
it's
might
just
be
in there.
pitched. It might be
Okay,
pitched
sure, but
slightly. But yeah, so
yeah,
it's that one's really special to me for that reason. So but honestly, yeah, it um lots of just writing, and it started to just kind of snowball into something. We're like, oh, there's a theme here.
yeah,
Let's really iron this out. And that's when we started chasing down the record and brought in Unis, who was
hmm
our drum engineer for this record. And this was the one of the first times that we actually got to get in a studio and record live drums.
Oh,
And
nice.
this was a really fun process. And I'm sure you can even touch on that a little bit too.
Yeah, yeah, it was great. I've known Honest for a few years. And I would I think one of my Columbus buddies was like, dude, you should go to him if you want to record like covers or just like, his mix is just unreal. And so like a few years ago, I think I started going in just kind of record Jady covers and stuff. And then eventually we were like, dude, like if we like brought you this album that we're working on, do you want to do a bunch of live drums on this? And I think we did like 3 sessions with him over the course
Nice.
of a week. And yeah, I kind of just hammered down each song. And yeah, doing that was really cool because especially with like previous projects that we've put out together, we never really did much like studio acoustic drums. It was always kind of something that was in the studio, or it would be me and Jarrett kind of working through different samples or different tones of like electronic drums, and trying to
Sure.
get a feel of like a super polished drum production. And I think on this we wanted that like live grunge feel
Yeah.
um with the drums. And on this, just yeah, he killed it. He did so good. And yeah, I think even like touching on kind of what Jarrett was saying before, just with this album, you mentioned something being logistical with this year. I think when we started working on the album, we I think we're kind of like we're not gonna tour as much, right now because we were so, and still are, but we were so focused this year on getting the album done, but then also
Right.
growing our brand in every other angle that there is while we were at home. And so, a lot of that was social media and streaming platforms and then yeah, traveling to get this album finished. And I think that it turned into kind of a logistical year of like, let's just grow every angle of this business and get the best project that we can. And then we'll go out and we'll tour it.
Right.
So
Right.
it kind of ended up being like a year of, kind of being at home a little. Like we toured a little bit this year, but it was mainly kind of staying at home and kind of getting these logistics nailed down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what I loved most about like figuring out this album release, it was a real challenge because of course we're thinking in this landscape of a social media short form driven world of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
We're thinking like we had so many conversations, what makes sense to the integrity of our project? We want to make sure that we're not being not smart with, posting these kinds of videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's that can only do so much. There's so much more beneath the surface that we want to communicate. So instead of like just the short form, we really, really wanted to integrate like, let's play that game, but our twist on it. Let's put out some really cool story driven content
Yeah.
and really deepen the universe that's really being built. And I think that was our cool way of like, you know what, we'll play the game, but we'll do it our way. We'll do it the
Yeah.
way that only Jady could, which is, maybe it is short form, but there's substance there.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is a short form kind of thing that you can watch back and say, oh, I'm catching new things. And that's what got us really excited as certain things start to kind of phase out, which is just really upsetting where, like a music video is just like, it's like we want to give that, but
Yeah.
you look back and you're like, how do we adapt and make it make
Yeah.
sense for this band, and I think found a really cool middle ground where we were like, let's let's do it our way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're also building out different Instagram pages, right, for the Silver Screen broadcasting and all that kind of stuff. Uh
Right.
and you also something that's I mean, you did this for Napalm too, and it was really interesting because I don't see this much with any bands. You're doing album trailers. What was the inspiration behind choosing to do that for Napalm and then again for Silver? Is it purely just a storytelling thing, or was there like choosing to do that rather than just a bunch of music videos as well?
Yeah, I think as we started working closely with our videographer Connor, who is just a mastermind, and we all three of us kind of come together and brainstorm how exactly we want to roll out a project. And when I think of music, you don't traditionally think, trailer.
Yeah,
And seeing something like that almost makes you feel like you're getting something more than music. It's like it puts almost a price tag on what you're marketing, as in,
yeah, yeah,
it makes it feel like valuable, where in the current landscape of music it just feels so not valuable. um and we view our art so close to the chest. We're just like, we really want to treat this like it is a theatrical release,
right.
and um so much more than just a song you add to your playlist and maybe return to on your Spotify Wrapped and say, oh yeah, I liked that. But man, the 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 kind of band that you live in this world, like,
Yeah,
it's something that I have always enjoyed when I consume art.
yeah,
um and it transcends beyond just songs, so I that's what I've always really really loved. But yeah.
I
yeah.
think I
Go
think
ahead.
that kind of translates a lot into the artists that we're heavily inspired by, like
Sure.
the Sleep Token, the Tyler the Creator, the Kendrick Lamar, the John Bellion, artists like that where they're very story driven,
Yeah,
and I think that's something that has always kind of made us kind of pumped up about releasing music, of just like,
yeah,
we're here to tell some sort of story in an art form, and being able to deliver that is always really fun.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well, speaking of the story, obviously there's a story at play behind this album and even behind the name of the album. What Going back even to just kind of the beginnings of this before the haze, when you were creating this character of Ted Silver, why did you choose the name Silver as his last name?
um I could give a um the truth is, me and Connor were thinking through, we wanted this character to be a thing, and he was working on some other project. It was just a creative project he was working on the side, and he had this working character for it. It had absolutely nothing to do with, you know an allegory for our current worldview and anything. It had
Right.
no substance behind it besides being kind of a funny character that he was in
Sure.
a sketch, and its name was Ted Silver. And I had this vision in the way that this Ted Silver character was interacting on the screen. I was like, this is eerily very similar to what I see in my mind. Can we just take that name? Because that name just feels so like it feels inviting in an eerie way. I don't know. That's kind of how
Yeah.
I have always felt like is a good way to describe the world of the haze, is something that's very unsettlingly inviting, that and that's kind of what we wanted to capture, especially on songs like The Veil or Torn.
Right.
uh,
Right.
and those specific songs written from the point of view of the opposing force are really, for context, for anybody that is just thrown off by what that is. I felt like it was important for me to show how this opposing force will use tactics, and this is a very manipulative tactic to get people to buy in to
Right.
what he believes. And it's this tactic of saying, you need this illusion. In fact, if you don't, if you pull away from it, you are alone. And
Right.
that's one of that's a lie that can so easily convince you of really just conceding and giving in. Um, but there's so much power in knowing that, wait a second, I am not alone in this. There is good out there, and I I can finally see that there's somebody on the other side of the world that thinks, hurts, feels, and believes same things that I do. And that can sometimes be all you need to stand up against that opposing force and say, you know what? I am not going to fold. Like, I am going to stick to my cards and
Yeah.
really um, hold integrity here. And the whole album kind of just like is me going back and forth with this opposing force, and low moments of, man, I feel like I could give into this, and other moments where it's like, you know what, no, this is where I stand. And yeah, it's really just a reflection of kind of how we've been doing as a band the past year, even
Yeah.
just metaphorically, but also pretty literally on Tell Me Something.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but yeah, it's, I think there's just so much to gather and glean from the project, and I'm excited as things continue to build upon it.
Well, sort of on that note, there's a line in Reanimate, which sort of opens the album. It's track two, but it's kind of the first full song on the album. There's these lyrics, when I'm steady, always blocking the light, you could change my life if I open my eyes, but I lie. And I really like the imagery here of choosing to lie, or at least how I interpret it is choosing to lie deliberately closes your eyes to the truth and to the light. Could you talk a bit more about, choosing to open the album with this song and with lyrics like this, and how that relates to kind of choosing to put on or then choosing to take off something like the rose-colored lenses?
Right. Yeah. A huge theme in this record has been identity. Um, Looking back on Napalm, that seemed to be a pretty purpose-driven theme of, what is my purpose? I hope I mean something here.
Yep.
And this album seems to place a lot of stock in what other people think within this purpose. And it's basically just kind of tackling that. Um, but yeah, the um I totally, can you restate the question real quick? I
Yes, yes.
completely,
No, you're
okay,
good.
yeah.
The lines in Reanimate about deliberately closing your eyes and deliberately choosing to lie, and that's a way to close your eyes, and how that ties into the lenses and all of that.
Right. So integrity and identity being such a prominent theme on this record, I started to ask myself, if I truly believe the things I believe, then why do my actions not line up? Like, why am I not,
Right.
where's the follow through here? And certain tracks like Echo Chamber or White Casket that really play into um the follow through, and me being a people pleaser that places a lot of stock in what other people think at my most unhealthy state of mind. I can often hold this level of perfection to myself,
Right.
and I almost want that to be displayed. So, but ultimately, beneath, everybody is just a human being. And what does
Yeah.
it mean to be a human being? It means to just be a screw up, and that's something that should be acknowledged, and not like, we can't act like that's not the case.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like um yeah, specific songs like that, it's like the hard truth of just like, I can say with my mouth anything, and like I can say the right things, but it truly does manifest with how it's carried out. And I think that's a huge, huge theme in this record when it comes to identity, is, where is it found? And if you truly say it's found in something, then are the actions going to line up with that? And so yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's my broad way of kind of opening up the door to that lyric.
And you mentioned napalm a moment ago, and
Yeah.
I wanted to. This is a bit of a change, right, in topic, but it's a question I've had for a while, and I don't really see it talked about much. One of my favorite songs on that album is a song called Frostbite.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, if you don't mind talking about it, what inspired that song? Why did you create that song? Because I think it's beautiful. I think it's one of your best songs, and I think it's also severely underrated.
I'm so glad you like that one, because that's also one of my favorites. That one, that one came from a place of like I said, wanting to be like the people pleaser and really just like be everything to everyone. And in that case, it would be like a significant other basically saying, um, in a career that feels like it it really is so up in the air of like, man, it really in any career, it's just like there's no promise of anything working. It feels like you're walking aimlessly. And it felt like in the hypothetical scenario of a significant other that, you know, the longer and longer it takes for things to happen. I'm a very visual person. So the longer and longer it takes, it's like, okay, just hold on, wait. It felt like watching the people I love slowly freeze over. And it's like, how long is it going to take until that life is just completely drained out because of how long I've been begging, just hold on. And
Yeah.
I felt this pressure, whether it's a healthy pressure or not. It was like I need to figure it out. I need to expedite this process. And the truth is, a lot of it is just out of our control.
Yeah.
And um, that specific song, it was just kind of like, I I feel responsible that it is that like I feel responsible that I can't speed up this process, and I see the toll it's taking on the people that I love. And um so that visual representation of just like, man, the discomfort of walking around with no home in sight. It's a
Yeah.
desolate, cold wasteland below freezing, and it's a matter of time before somebody freezes over and loses all feeling. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that was I'm so glad you like that track because I do agree. I feel like it's a small one. You know what? It's funny. I think on YouTube it's our highest streaming song.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I don't want to say the wrong number, but I think it's like 120,000
Very
Yeah.
nice. It's crazy.
YouTube, which is so like random. Like
Yeah.
there's random songs from previous projects that just kind of spikes in the algorithm a little bit, I guess. And we're like, okay, like people are
Yeah.
digging that one, so that's good to know.
Right.
They're searching up how to recover from frostbite, and then you pop up.
Yeah. They're like dying. Yeah.
That explains why every winter there's a
Yeah, exactly.
spike in frostbite streams.
Yeah. Their
Yeah.
last 3 minutes of life is really just listening to that song, which could be a good existence. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe they were looking for a tutorial on how to fix that issue.
Maybe. There's also a lot of themes and imagery of flying throughout this album. And this is a bit of a more lighthearted question, but it could also go into something a bit more serious, which is, Ashton, you mentioned last night that you were training to be a pilot at some point. Did that play an influence on bringing in these themes of flying? Is that something you can inform Jarrett on what that actually means?
Funny enough, I think that was completely new information for Jarrett.
It
Oh,
really
I
was.
think that was something it was a very quick phase in my life. I think I was going into like senior year of high school, and I was like, man, like what would be a cool job?
Yeah.
And the first thing that came to mind was like, oh, international pilot would be cool. And I guess I hung on to that for a little bit, and it very quickly fizzled out.
Dude, I would have never. That's so crazy.
I would not have been a good
Well, it
pilot.
actually, interestingly, I wasn't as surprised by that as Jarrett seems to be, because I always see flying and being a pilot, especially on like a jetliner like that, is something that takes a lot of kind of multitasking skill. And I also see drumming as something similar to that, because you've got to keep track, where everything is and all that. Is that, I don't know if that's actually a connection that you can make yourself between the two, but kind of, I don't know, what was it like starting out on your journey of drumming and going into all of that?
Yeah, I grew up drumming since I think I started when I was like 3 years old. It was something that just was kind of always around. I think I started out by, my dad would play. If you watch the Newport documentary, I'm able to like slightly touch on it there, but not to its fullest extent. But growing up, my dad was like a big fan of like Grateful Dead and Neil Young, and a fan favorite of me and my dad's was a band called House of Heroes, if you're
Hmm.
familiar with
Yes,
those.
yeah.
And so my dad would have like VHS tapes, and he'd put them in the TV. And before I even owned any type of drum kit, as a 2 or 3 year old, I would have pillows and drumsticks or anything that I could hold to hit the pillows, and I'd prop them up by the TV and I'd hit them. And then yeah, eventually, or not really eventually, but like a Christmas later, I got like a little kid set, being like a 3 year old. It's just something that like actually hit. And it was something that just kind of was always around in my life and growing up and playing. And I was very in and out of it when I was in middle school and high school, just with sports and trying to figure out the lane that I want to shift into. And I was always back and forth of what do I want to dedicate my time to? Because I've always been this way as a kid, is for some reason as a kid I was never able to focus on more than one thing at once. I felt like it was unfair to the thing in front of me.
Sure.
So a silly example is, as a kid, if I was really into Star Wars at the time, I wasn't allowed, in my mind, I wasn't allowed to like anything else but Star Wars. Like it was unfair to like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like if I wanted to shift, I would completely shift away and go to that. So, and that kind of is it. I've grown up with that type of mindset. So being in high school, I was always like, oh, if I'm gonna focus on basketball, I'm gonna focus on basketball, and it'd be kind of like this in and out of drums or sports. And eventually, I think I was able to see a live show where the drummer just kind of opened up a whole new world for me of like what it means to kind of be an entertainer and drum in a way that's just so eye-catching. And that was like the big like 180 shift where I was like, okay, I am pretty much only going to focus on drums from now on. And it just, I think that was like eighth grade freshman year, something like that. And ever since then, my shift has always been drums. And
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, paid off for
Oh,
sure.
appreciate it. Yeah.
I'd like to say it did.
Yeah, be a bit of a challenge. A quick, like, 2-minute response to a line from Algorithm,
Okay, yeah.
which is who wants to become what they hate or who they hate when they're young? What inspired that line? What the meaning is behind that?
Yeah, that line in particular was really cool. That was one of the first times I had worked with somebody else in the studio writing in Nashville. A guy named Trent Dabbs worked with us. He writes for bands like Coin. I don't know if you've
Okay.
heard.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he so he really helped me articulate that song. But yeah, that line in particular, it was just like who who wants to like look back and be like, man, if I saw myself when I was younger doing this, I would just be like so upset. Like it's just that kind of full circle of like that realization, like, dang it. Like I think I've become what I sought out to destroy. And it just that full circle of, man, something needs to change here. And um yeah, that song hits a certain chord that just, I don't know, the especially that chorus, um you love me the same on the days that I didn't.
Right.
Really just a conversation with somebody. But just the instead of like taking it literally, I almost applied what it felt like in this, social media game, applied that to any given relationship
Yeah,
where it's like, it doesn't have to be technology, but when am I gonna fit into the algorithm
yeah,
of person? And yeah, because in an age where it's just so distracting, it's just so distracting.
yeah, yeah.
That it's hard to weave in. It's hard to weave in sometimes, and but yeah, I think that song just holds a lot. It holds a lot that I can't quite fully articulate without just thinking through. But it's
Sure.
it's that song is, I do love that way. It's I think it's our first actual ballad, I think.
Yeah.
We've got Gravitate and the Frostbites but one tried and true, like no drums, which is very sad. Very
No,
sad.
no blast beats
No
on
blast beats. I did say
Blast
in the live stream last night that there would be a drum solo on Algorithm.
that.
I was really hoping somebody was like very much anticipating that and
Yeah.
forward to the piano and they're like, yeah, he was lying.
Yeah, I have to say, I liked the version of Eclipse you played on the live stream better than the studio version.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Yes. The
Sweet.
crinkling of the bag.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I we were sitting like minutes before the live stream and I said, Ashton, what if you crinkled this bag at the very end? And that bit was like so on the fly. We I think we made some enemies. My mom texted me after the live stream and said, "You're gonna have some very angry Jady fans," and like a frowny face emoji. And I was like, "Mom,
You're in trouble.
I'm
Yeah.
in trouble. Stop it, Mom!" Oh man, but yeah, I think Eclipse is one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
I'm excited for people to look into that one and because it talks a lot about the very first time I played live.
Right, right.
Yeah, that second verse, having the opportunity to be on stage playing bass with Jay when we were at the Pilots tour.
Yeah.
That was just like that being an introduction to playing live was just so much like
Yeah.
it felt like is this it? Did I make it? So many people would say if I'm there, I made it. And it's just so easy to let yourself forget how much you have overcome, how much that you've done. And yeah, that song was important for me to do because at the time I was just feeling like, man, I'm nowhere. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm nowhere where I need to be. And I needed to look back and be like, people would have killed to, play 150 plus shows,
Yeah.
go on multiple US tours overseas and play a venue like Kemba here in a week and just all of
Yeah,
these kinds of things.
it's crazy because it's like you would look at the things that we've been blessed to be able to do puts us in like the top 1% of most people who try to go do music. And
Right.
it's so easy to try to put a definition on what success means in an industry like this. And I think kind of like the basic answer is, well, success is making lots of money and everybody knows who you are and you get to play arenas.
Yeah.
But like, is that actually success though? Is like when you get to that level, like, are you actually fulfilling some type of purpose in your life? And so that's always it's a tough reminder because the natural human reaction is success is money and fame.
Right.
But
Right.
and it's so easy to put that definition on success, but success really is, do you feel fulfilled in what
Yeah.
you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for your time. This was a wonderful conversation. To everyone who's watching, go stream Silver right now, many times. And yeah, I mean, good luck with everything. Speaking of success, I hope Silver has a very successful run in all meanings of the word. And yeah, thank you so much. This was
Man,
wonderful.
I appreciate it, man. And I appreciate you taking the time, dude. You've been killing it. Seriously.
Thank you. You
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. I love seeing your content and I love your thoughts on our music. It truly I get excited every single time. So I can't
Thank
wait
you.
to see your further thoughts on the record.
Oh yeah, much more to come.
Oh man, thank you so much, man.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course. Thank you.